Welcome back to Senior Connections. Kevin and I are joined today by Steve Parrott, owner of RetireEASE. And before we get started talking about maybe the red flags that you might go and see in your mom and dad's home and knowing that they might need a little extra care, I want to ask Steve about his new certification. You are now a CSA?
That's correct, Janet. Certified Senior Advisor is the title of that.
Right, and tell us how you got that certification, what it entailed.
Well, it was about a 4-day class, and then you had to pass a comprehensive exam. And what that certification does is it helps you get a broad knowledge base on some senior issues that are coming along. Health, social, financial, some legal questions that you could just talk to when you're working with a family that has a senior matter.
Which is very important in a changing environment because as 15,000 baby boomers a day turn age 65, your industry is in for a tidal wave, isn't it? Right.
Well, the 65 and up crowd is exploding right now, and a lot of those people have some trust issues. They don't have all the answers, so it's important to work with somebody who is preparing themselves and learning about some of the issues that they face, and you can give some credibility to maybe an industry that's had some questionable people in it for a while. So the CSA is something that sets us apart, gives us some knowledge and some information and resources to help seniors make those decisions.
Now, Kevin, sorry. I'm sorry, Kevin.
Yeah, this topic. Well, this topic is so important for the holidays because as Steve worked with my mom, it was over a Christmas break holiday that I really saw the red flags you're going to talk about. That mom was declining, the dog had not been fed, her clothes were not put on properly, she was dressing inappropriately. She thought the fire alarm, this fire safety security was engaged, and it wasn't. I just saw a whole list of things, but I didn't even know what to look for. So maybe you could talk with Steve about what are the red flags.
Well, right. Tell us some of those. Like Kevin was saying, what are you seeing as you go into these homes to help care for these individuals?
Well, I usually try to look for either physical or health deficiencies or either mental impairments. And sometimes they're combined. There's health and mental issues going on. But some of the signs that you see that come up oftentimes really are due to either their loss of interest or loss of activities that you'll see, a declining in a senior. And that could be around, I try to start with the 3 M's, I call them, my medical, my medications, and my meals.
I was going to say medications are huge. And now you help set up the medications or give reminders for those folks who need that sort of assistance.
It's so important to make sure that there's a person checking in, observing, or either helping a senior set those medications up properly so that there are things that will go missing out of the box. Maybe they'll have things that are expired that stay in there too long. And a senior can get into real difficulties and issues quick if they have the wrong medications in there.
But here's a key to some of our viewers. Who is it that calls you? Probably not mom and dad. Those things are happening, but this conversation is about the 50-something that's watching who is seeing over the holidays or having the eyes to see the shortfalls because mom and dad probably think they're doing fine. And here's another thing. Over the telephone, mom and dad often sound pretty good.
That's right.
They're chipper to hear you. They're happy. Everything's great. But it's when you get there physically that you put these set of eyes on.
Well, Kevin, like your mother, you know, if you just talk to her or sat down with her for a few minutes, she'd pass all the tests. But quickly you find out that there may be 1 or 2 of those 3 M's going on. So with Kevin, your mom, the medications and the meals were just out of whack completely.
She had lost a whole lot of weight. So, it was just, if I hadn't had some friendship with someone like you to know what to look for, I would have completely missed a lot of things.
Yeah. So, Kevin, either one of you, when are you thinking that the conversation should occur with the parents?
Well, oftentimes those conversations need to happen, and my rule of thumb is early.
The earlier the better.
You just don't want to have to make those decisions in a crisis. So I tell all of our viewers, the people listening on this program, sit down, talk to your parents sooner, and talk to them about the what ifs. And there's some great questions. There's a lot of resources out there. There's a great book called the 9 or 11.5 now, Essential Conversations that you need to have with mom and dad.
We've got it at the publisher now,
At
and
the publisher.
it's hoped to be out in the next 90 days.
Yeah. So there's many issues you need to sit down and talk to mom and dad, but it's always easier to help them with negotiating. It's easier to talk to them when it's what if scenarios, Mom. How can I assist you in making those decisions before we get to them?
Do you have any suggestions for those children that are just, having problems with a parent that says, I don't need help, I don't want anybody here? Do you have any other suggestions for how they can approach this?
I do. Oftentimes, most seniors, and this is a very common thing, they're dealing with the loss of grief or the loss of independence, and they just don't want to admit that they need help yet. So as a 50-something or a child of an aging parent, sometimes you have to pull in what I call one of those senior advocates, a trusted person of the family, maybe like an elder law attorney, a geriatric care manager.
That's exactly what I used. Geriatric case manager was to help me have the conversation with Mom.
Right. A CSA, a certified senior advisor, somebody that can be a third party at the table.
Neutral party.
Absolutely. Okay. There's a lot of that, what I call that negotiation that needs to take place. Parents and sometimes children get in the war of balancing safety concerns versus loss of independence. We all know mom and dad, they don't want to give up their independence, but you as the child, you're trying to make those decisions so that you're not jeopardizing their safety as well.
And one of the key elements is don't wait too late. I've actually referred folks to Steve, and they were already beyond what Steve could do to help them, which is some people, they think it's expensive to get help at this level. It's twice as expensive to get it at the next level. So let me encourage you to call Steve, and let me tell you one other resource. Steve and I have put together a Parent Care Home for the Holidays checklist, and if you'd like to get a copy of it, send me an email, kevin.skipper@lpl.com, and we'll get that to you. Steve, it's a great thing that we've put together. Thanks for being with us today on the program.
Yes,
Thank you, Janet. Appreciate you having me. Thank you, Kevin.
So we come back, there are many grandparents out there. Some of you as grandparents have financial responsibility for your grandchildren. Being a new grandpa, what better topic to talk about today than a financial list of items you as a grandparent need to consider? I'm Kevin Skipper. You're listening to Senior Connections. We'll be right back.